This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Brueski.
Lara Yeretsian is with us, seasoned defense attorney. I want to talk about the nuggets that we keep hearing about with regards to Bryan Kohberger. Someone recently seemingly got their hands on an old resume, cover letter. Interesting to dissect it a little bit. He brags about a lot of abilities that, frankly, he didn't really have when it was dug into further. Some of those being knife skills, one of them being filleting fish, and how much experience he's had at it. Well, turns out the place he claimed to work for as long as he didn't do that there. In fact, he left very early. Boxing. There was a lot of braggadocious things in there. A seasoned public speaker. It's a lot of stuff not really necessarily connected to the murder case, but it raises some eyebrows when we hear about Kohberger and a knife, albeit this time with fish. Is any of this going to be brought out in trial? Does any of it hold significance when we're looking at this case, Lara?
I guess it all depends on the prosecution, how much of this they're focused on. I don't really think this is where the case is going to be. Yeah. It's really going to be more on the real evidence, where he was physically, any DNA, the forensics, any prior relationship or motive for killing. Those are things that the jury is going to be more interested in. Now, for example, the cutting of the fish, he puts it on his resume. I mean, I don't even know why anyone would put that on their resume. Yeah. But my understanding is they spoke to his prior boss, and he said he worked for him, but for a very short time, just a few weeks, and never got to the part of really cutting the fish or filleting the fish, right? Yeah. Learning how to fillet. So he never even got to that point. So it's pretty obvious he's embellishing. A boxer, I don't even know how much of that is true. People write all sorts of things on their resumes, depending on what kind of job they're applying for. And, sometimes, a lot of times you would expect it to be accurate, but that people will exaggerate a bit. And this seems to be honestly just exaggerated fact. Maybe they go to his credibility if he ever takes the stand. I don't even know if I don't expect him to take the stand, but if he ever does, maybe they can bring this up and say, hey, you pretended to be an expert at cutting fish, but you never even got to learn how to fillet at your job. Yeah. You pretended to be a boxer. You said, in reality, we've gone back and checked and talked to people. Not really. You pretended to be this professional speaker, and we don't see anything in your background. We've talked to people. So it could be that, or they could take it. And if there's enough evidence to support that he truly is a professional at cutting fish, truly was a great boxer and a wonderful speaker, then maybe, the boxing and the cutting fish they could use and say he had the ability to kill all these people, basically.
Yeah, lots of different ways it could be spun around for or against him, depending on how it's used. I want to talk to you about the parents where they were called into that investigative grand jury a couple of weeks back. Originally reported that it was in connection with another case. The police in that jurisdiction coming out and saying, no, he has not any connection whatsoever to this other case. But obviously the parents were called in. They had to be called in for some sort of crime that took place within that county. Otherwise, they couldn't be called in. Is this something where they are able to help the police in the investigation? Do they have to speak and talk and answer questions about their son? What sort of responsibility do they have to the prosecution or the defense of this case?
As far as the case with the grand jury in Pennsylvania, if they've been subpoenaed, they have to go. Sure. They have to answer questions. It's not unless there's something there that's going to incriminate them. Now, if they are the suspects themselves, the parents, then that's a different issue, right? But if they're not this, and then they can invoke the fifth and do whatever it needs to be done to protect their rights, right? Their constitutional rights. But if it has nothing to do with them and they're not really witnesses themselves, or they don't have any information that can help the investigation, and it's really basically related to their son, I mean, they have to testify. And I'm guessing the prosecutors, if there's an alibi, if Kohberger has an alibi, maybe the way to provide that alibi to the grand jury is, and to rule him out, is by having the parents come in and testify.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition
This is the Hidden Killers podcast.
with Tony Brueski.
Lara Yeretsian, thank you so much for your insight on this. Always appreciated. You can check out her website, laralaw.com. It's LARA, law.com. If you like this podcast, you want more of it ad-free, become a supporter through Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and check that out. We do greatly appreciate it. Even try it for 3 days free and get access to all of our podcasts with no ads. I'm Tony Brueski. Stay with us.